So the Rabbi wanted we should learn Tuf Ki Beis. So, but before we go there, there's one important halacha that I was going to speak. We didn't get to it last week, which is mentioned before in the beginning, which we, remember I explained that Machshira Eichel Nefesh is Machshira. That means preparing. Let's start this way. It's called, if I have a knife that's dull, you're not allowed to sharpen it, because it's not cooking. You creating or fixing and keli, which you need to cut food. Understand? It's one step. I'm allowed to cook food. I'm allowed to chop the food in small pieces to eat it. I'm allowed to squeeze lemon onto the food, Yom Tov. There are certain things we learn which we're allowed to do Yom Tov. You're allowed to shecht. But can I sharpen a knife to shecht? That's called, how do you say in English? Preliminary. It's not the thing, it's, I need a knife. You should have taken care of every Yom Tov, the knife. I know you need a knife to shecht. You could have taken it before Yom Tov. So it comes Yom Tov, your knife is dull, you're not allowed to. If you could have done it before Yom Tov, it didn't happen on Yom Tov, everyone agrees, you have a sederaisa. So on this, there's a kasha which everyone asks. I know this Yom Tov, I'm going to shecht a chicken. I'm going to shecht a calf. Why am I not obligated to bring the animal to the sheichet before? That's machshirim. You understand the question? Just like you told me, you could have done before. I know clearly tomorrow morning I'm going to shecht 2 chickens. I need 2 chickens. So why the carrying is that's just transporting. You're not allowed to carry Yom Tov if you don't need to. It's not doichel nefesh. So the Rambam says, and the Rav brings it down, that Chazal, if they would have told you not to carry, you would have been like tied up and very sharp word. You wouldn't enjoy Yom Tov. I mean, nothing. I used to don't keep the Erev, but when people have young children, they say it's unbelievable difficult without a native. That's a fact. It really is very, very difficult. Can't go out Shabbos. It's I remember when I was raising the children were young, I had young children, it was very difficult. And anyone who has young children knows that. So the Rambam, the question is, but why is this, why could we say such a thing? Because to sharpen a knife on Yom Tov is a Issa Daraisa. You can't give a lenient way. You can't say it's too hard. So obviously, many learn that comes to carrying, and so too will later learn making a fire. That is the Rambam seems to say that way. That is an exception to the rule. The rule that we said till now does not apply to that. Understand? Because otherwise, carrying, all of us do it. You want to carry machzor to the shul. Okay, you need it, but you knew it before Yom Tov you need a machzor. You should have brought the machzor to shul. What's the head to bring the machzor to the shul? We all do this, so it's very clear from the whole thing that it works. It works, and you understand that carrying is different.
There would be no concept of carrying if that wasn't the case. Because everything could be done.
Right. Sometimes not, but most of the things could. You're right. Some things all of a sudden you get caught up the last minute and you didn't expect that your pants are ripped, so you have to go to your neighbor bar.
So carrying is an
exception, and the Rambam seems to say making a fire too. We're ready to get to hopefully.
No, we don't make a fire, but by Torah law,
you could make a fire, and because even though fire is machshirim, you know what machshirim means? No. It's preliminary. It's the fire is not doing the food. It's the fire exists, and I put food on the fire. So, but how could you make a fire? We make fires in Yom Tov. You're not allowed to create a new fire, but we take a fire from another place to make a fire. You should have done it before Yom Tov. This is a whole long discussion in the Poskim. But it's clear carrying is okay. Because there are, I don't know if you know about this, there are people who claim the Chalamoid you have to be machmir too. And I laugh about this. No, all these things. And I say, see, Chazal, I'm carrying, they don't want to carry, Chalamoid you don't need to. You see that even Yom Tov, which is machshirim, which should have been more chomer, it came, Chazal says, it works in betoch. I remember I explained to it 2 weeks ago. You know what betoch means? Since you're allowed to carry for eating. Chazal allowed you to carry for everything. But the big problem is it's still called machshidim. You know what mitoch means? Since I'm allowed to carry because a fire. Since I'm allowed to make a fire to cook food, I'm really allowed to make a fire to heat water to wash the dishes, heat water to take a shower. We don't take showers for other reasons. We had to learn all different reasons, but halachically that should be. Follow? Okay.
So why is carrying it a deraisa? In theory?
Rashi learns if I carry something that I have absolutely no need, I'm going to be Sadaraisa.
Why isn't it like the sharpening the knife?
Because you have to say carrying is different. We don't know the source of this apasik, but you see that carrying. And Yom Tov. If a guy needs a knife,
Well, you can check the day before.
they will show.
You have to check the knife.
Yeah, so you could have checked before Yom Tov. So that's the
You have to check the knife right away.
well, a sheikh prepares the knife before Yom Tov. Yom Tov he has to prepare it before. Well, the Shulchan says you got to prepare it before.
You have to do it before, but you have to check also the knife before because maybe it's the time to
Yeah, right before Yom Tov. You're not allowed to check a knife Yom Tov. We're gonna that says Shulchan Aruch. Because if it wouldn't be, if the knife was not checked before Yom Tov, you're afraid you're going to check the knife, you find that it has a pagam, you come sharpen it. So Chazal said, do not check the knife on Yom Tov. You have to check the knife before Yom Tov. We're talking about sharpening a knife is a malacha. What? Yeah, but we paskin, we the mechlekes and the getchela we paskin. You have to check the knife before Yom Tov. That's such a. Yeah, but I'm not a you're shoichet. Learning. You see that you have to we paskin getchela. You have to put the knife away, but if you didn't check it, then that's a whole. Okay, so let's learn about a fire. Then eish biyantu by tesifim. So, ein mitzianu eish, you're not going to create a new flame on Shabbos. Can't strike a match. Those days they had interesting ways how to create a fire. So, ein mitziam eish, loy min eitzim, from wood, loy min avunim, from a flintstone, loy min ufar. Rashi explains in the Gemara how they were able to make a fire with earth. Called Sfia Booker. I remember a few years ago, it was in the news, in the Thousand Oaks, they had manure, and the whole thing exploded. Because I remember it was right after 9/11, 1 or 2 years afterwards, and they thought it was a bomb, and turned out nothing. The barn was had gas, and it wasn't properly whatever it's called, and the whole thing blew up. It wasn't a bomb, and that's what I remember so clearly. So I told someone, the Rashi, the Murim Sechtes Bey says this thing. That manure could try to busy with the gas. I'm not sure which gas they're busy with the animals. Try with even a modern world, a green world. Tzriya Boker, he says, they put flax, white glass. We were children, we used to do it. Magnify. Remember children? Young children used to make a fire, magnify glass. In practical speaking, you cannot strike a match and make a fire. You cannot make a new fire. You have to have a fire from a fire. You created something new. Rashi learns, interesting, Rashi learns doime, that's a solution, to like creating something. So you're not allowed to do it.
You could use a match. If you took a little match from a candle, would that be
Yeah, kill a match. But how about taking a match and putting on the hot blech, which is not red hot? You cannot do that. And many hold, if I put the match very high up, it also catches fire. Do you know how? Yeah. Children know how to do it. When I was a child, we used to do it. You have a candle, you used to try to figure out how high you could higher. Yeah. But many hold the Yom Tov, you can't do it because it's not the fire, it's the heat that ignites it.
So you have to do it
from the fire itself. Because when you put it high up, you know what it ignites? Is the heat that ignites it. If you put on the blech, which is not red hot, the heat. But if the blech is red hot, you have a coil that's red hot, so that's called fire. When you put it on, that you're allowed to do
It's
that.
not transferring, I guess.
Right, it's not right. Well, that's one fire to another fire.
Because if you put paper on it, it will not work to start a fire with the smoke of it. Then it's gonna.
No. I understand what you're trying to say. The what?
It's the same thing, because it has, you can only write it in fire.
For a fire. Then that's the
Can you have an oven on a timer?
Yom Tov for sure.
Good.
Yeah. Some people don't like it. Rabbi Heinemann has a famous oven, Yom Tov oven, which with computers, which works with a timer, and there's Yom Tov mode, Shabbos mode.
Can you set up some contraption where if you knock over a rock, it makes a spark and do it with the
Well, I told you were here. I explained that. Unfortunately, my wife has such a thing. My wife has a chairlift, a Shabbos chairlift, so it takes her upstairs. But it works with her groma. Works. But the
Asking a shinoi.
yeah, but not a she. He's asking with a groma, a rack that's pit. That's how these things work. With a delay. So they came out against it. So that people sit in a wheelchair, they have it. So they came out against it because they're terrified if you can use it for a wheelchair, you can use it for a car too.
Who are they?
The Rabbanim and Etzisrael. Unanimously signed.
Same day, it's like one guy sitting on.
No. These were many from different factions in Klal Yisrael, different Chassidish, Litvish. And I didn't make sense when I first heard about it, asked it, but then I understood. Because there's no end. With this, you know how the wheelchair works? I saw some of my neighborhood. He blows into a straw. I don't know the mechanism, but he blows into a straw, and something happens, and 3 minutes, starts going. On Shabbos, a guy, the child who can, he's not a child, he's a young man, he's about 28 years old.
That's with the heter, or that's
Well, it's a grumma. A grumma l'tzoyrich, a yud tzorich yalautu. So, but if someone came with the invention with a grumma this way, so maybe they're going to come out with a grumma with a car too.
Sure they could.
Yeah, there's no question. Someone who's told me once you have the mechanism, you can use it.
Sorry, what happens if you have a Shabbos
Yeah,
going?
no, not to.
Driver, he comes over to the door.
But that's a separate issue. You're not allowed to tell a goy for anything. Doesn't
He knows the job.
doesn't make a difference. Even a goy does on his own, you have to stop him. If a guy decides to drive you, you have to stop him. The guy in your house decides to cook you something, you have to stop him. Not only that, if he cooked for you something, you're not allowed to eat it.
So then there's no such thing. I mean, so then when they
The
say
what?
Shabbos boy, you can't have it.
There is such a thing. There's
Certain things they had in Europe, and let me explain what happened in Europe. My neighborhood, they have a Shabbos guy. Detroit, there's a street called Detroit, and it must be about 20 Yiddish families. They call it the bungalow colony block, and they have a guy. Till now, they had a Shabbos guy. Finally, he told someone, let me tell you a secret. My father was not, he has an Italian name. My mom was Jewish. He didn't want the shittel out. He begged not to tell. He's very proud of it. He's so proud that he's the Shabbos guy. But in Europe, let me explain to you Europe, why it was so important, the Shabbos guy, it was freezing cold. And they didn't have all this mechanism, so you have to start the oven. Every Shabbos morning, the guy would go from house to house to put on the furnace. They didn't cook, just put on the furnace.
So that was allowed.
That was allowed because it was better cold.
Right. So that's
Certain
fine.
extreme situation you're allowed to. And Yom Tov we also, we're going to soon see. Let's this question. Let's say many people don't want to have the fire on all Yom Tov. And you're allowed to tell a guy to turn the fire on a Yom Tov. Why? Because putting on a fire Yom Tov is only an Issa D'Rabbanan. We spoke about this once. It's only a D'Rabbanan, means a rabbinical thing. And telling a guy to do a D'Rabbanan, it's called the Shvus.
Okay. So
You understand? So you have Yom Tov, you could tell the guy, the shiksa, to put. I take for granted everyone has a shiksa. My neighborhood, that's how it works. Everyone has a shiksa.
so you can't, just generally speaking, you can't tell a goy to do things for you that
No.
are convenient.
No.
However, isn't it also said that a goy it's actually bad if a goy participates in Shabbos? Like you shouldn't have. him
No, a guy, it depends what. I mean, a guy is not allowed to cook. Generally speaking, when I tell people, in every Yom Tov I remind people, The guy puts on the fire. Remember, you got to put the food onto the fire. Most people have the thing on the fire. The guy turns the fire, becomes bishalakim. They don't connect. So the guy puts on the fire. Make sure that the guy, you put the food onto the fire. But it's nothing.
Because what?
And it's a problem bishalakim. If a guy cooks something for you, if it's a good meal, it's a choshev meal, then it's a problem of a guy. You're not allowed to eat what a guy cooked, even though it's 100% kosher.
You're not allowed to eat.
You're not allowed to eat it. If the guy made a nice steak for you, you put it on the fire and he put the steak, you're not allowed to eat.
And what's the reason for that?
Chazal said you shouldn't intermarriage. Because you socialize and she's going to cook.
And then there'll be intermarriage.
Yeah, in between Bayis Rishon and Bayis Sheni, it's one of the most amazing things. Between Bayis Rishon and Bayis Sheni, they went to Golis, they kept everything, but the wife was a shiksa. Imagine, they kept everything.
What do you mean
70
shiksa?
years,
She
right?
must have
70 years.
converted.
No, not converted.
So you,
They didn't, they married without
didn't
conversion.
do the conversion.
No conversion.
Don't get ideas. It was a terrible thing.
So that's why. So the Chazal came, and the beginning of Bayis Sheni, and they said the reason they came because people socialized. You know, I'm coming over to your house, you're coming to my house. So once I cannot go to their house, they're not going to come to my house so quickly. It's less. So, and that is the truth. Today, it's rare that a frum person. Today, if a guy marries a shiksa, he's off totally. No one's married a shiksa, and he keeps Shabbos and Yom Tov, and you know. I once had someone. I had a guy once call me up, and he asked me that if this bishul akum his wife cooks. I didn't understand what he was talking about. He says, "What do you mean?" And he called me Hilchos Shabbos, and I sold his business for him. And finally, he tells me, "My wife is not Jewish." So he says he became from. He explained to me his son made him from. His son became from, made him from. He loves Yiddishkeit, but this is my second wife, and I just love her too much. I just can't get divorced. Very bluntly.
Why wouldn't she?
She didn't want. She doesn't. She can't imagine not go shopping Saturday and not driving a car. So that's called bishul akum. So there are people, the wealthy people know that. My neighborhood. If you have a shiksa, you have to put on the fire all the time.
I know in France, they won't let Goyim come in the synagogue. We're separated from them. Exactly.
Again, so a goy is not. It's important what you ask. A goy is not. This is why, in halacha, when everything is so thin, it gets confused. A goy is allowed to do a drabanan. Also, it's sometimes deraisa. Let's say the shoe lights goes out, right? Shabbos. You need for Rabbi. It says Shulchan for Rabbi a shoe. You're allowed to tell the goy to put on the lights. I remember as a young child, used to tell the goy to put on the air conditionings. Those days they didn't have yet a clock when as a young boy,
So going to be told to do a rabbanan.
A rabbanan, if it's an important need, right? Let's say your house, Yom Tov, you could tell the guy to put on the fire, the marshal on Yom Tov, because they're one, or you want to cook. You don't have, you don't have. But the rice you can't. But for Arabim, that's the shul. The air conditioner is not working, or the light is not working. Imagine for some reason the lights didn't go on the shul. So you're allowed to tell the guy to put on directly. Tell the guy to put on the lights.
If there's a legitimate need.
Yes, I mean you can't.
But the light's not the raisa?
Yeah, it is. But for Rabbim,
For Rabbi.
the light is a deraisa. But for Rabbim, the Ramos says the minig was to be mekel.
That's on Shabbos. But what
Shabbos.
In my home on Yom Tov, can I-
Yom Tov, so if opening a light is only a drabanan, come to most poskim, besides the chazanish, but most of the Chachamim, you could tell a goy if you have a big need to put on the light. There was a Shevi Baruch in someone's house, and someone passed by, and the lights went off. And they got a goy, it wasn't dark.
So is that a tzara?
I said it wasn't. They told me afterwards. I said they were big arguing. They came to me after. I said, I don't know. Would have asked me. Would have said it will pitch dark. Yes, you can. But it was somehow. I says many restaurants have it. The tchila dim lights. I said.
I'm confused. You said it was deraisa in the shul to open up, but in the house.
Shabbos is a deraisa.
Shabbos turning on the lights.
Right, deraisa. Yom Tov turning on the lights is the rabbanon.
Oh, I see.
So on Shabbos, let's say Shabbos, you come to shul, the lights are out for some reason. You can tell a guy to put on the lights. On Shabbos in your house, the lights are on. You cannot tell the guy. Now, what happens what happens, a guy told me a few months ago, no, more than that, all the fuses blew. Yeah, one of these houses, and he says, that means all my food in the freezer and everything is going now. I was trying to find the cooler, and he described it was a huge loss. So I said, you could tell a guy, because I was afraid otherwise who knows what he's going to do.
What's the difference? What's a draisa and the
The raisa is, there's 39 malachas in Shabbos you're not allowed to do, 39. And the raisa is the
draisa is biblical.
biblical, and that's the and the raisa means that say putting on a fire but Yom Tov you're allowed to put on a fire. Because Yom Tov, you're allowed to do certain things allowed to Yom Tov. So we're talking about Yom Tov. So Yom Tov, you're not allowed to create a new fire, but you're allowed to make a fire from another fire. Shabbos, if I light a candle from another candle, I violated Shabbos. But Yom Tov, I'm allowed to take a candle from another candle. Understand? So Yom Tov, to make a new fire is only rabbinical. So I'm allowed to tell a goy to put on the fire.
I thought you said you cannot make a new fire. I thought
You cannot make a new fire.
That's no right.
No, the Yom Tov is the Rabbanon.
Yeah.
That's only the Rabbanon Yom Tov.
So
Yom Tov, to really making a fire, see, let's start from scratch. Fire making, even you add fuel to the thing, it's also deraisa. On Shabbos, if I light a candle from another candle, that's a violating of deraisa, right? So on Yom Tov, I'm allowed to light another candle, because really Yom Tov, you're allowed to make a fire. The Rabbanon did not allow you, rabbinical did not allow you to make a new fire. So I could tell a goy to make a new fire. Got it?
because it's for fire.
Yes.
In the situation you mentioned where they told the guy to put on the lights even though it was dim, it wasn't dark, are you allowed to have enough of that?
Well, they had to know, anyways, were able to see, it just wasn't enough light. So you can ask it. Once you could see what you eat, the additional, you cannot say the additional light makes it worse. Follow?
What consists of a rubber?
That's a very, very good question. This is what he asked, this is a big machlekes in the Paskim. Most hold a minion. A minion. Well said. Yes.
So you say a
Man, talking about a shul, a minion, that it has to be a rabbin. It's
10 people or 10 people bar mitzvah?
I mean, 10 people who need it.
10 bar mitzvah people? Or
No,
10 people?
no, doesn't have to
Family
be.
of 10?
Family of 10, if you need it. Not everyone agrees to that. It's very gray. This is a very gray, it's a very gray area. Not so clear. Okay.
That are 18.
Right, back to blowing in the tube for the wheelchair. That's, the tzorach there is that he's sick.
Yeah.
Therefore,
Can't move. You know what it means? He can't get stuck in the house. That's an incredible tzorach. That's surely a tzorach. There's no question.
Tzorach is that he's stuck in the house.
Yeah, it's like a prison. It is. We don't appreciate this. You know what? The fact that you could go out, even if it didn't go on Shabbos, you don't feel so terrible. You know you can't go out every Shabbos. It's very, very hard.
So the Rabbanim who made it,
Yeah, I don't.
Rabbanim hold on the scepter?
Everyone has to agree it's okay. Let me be blunt. You can't disagree because it's only a groma. And a groma, if there's a huge,
Rama on Shabbos is okay.
only there's a tzorich ilauto. That's a beferish Gemara.
I'm asking, is that tzorach?
Avad is a tzorich. You have your shirt is burning. So the Gemara says you're allowed to make your shirt wet. So you're gonna lose the shirt. Big deal. No, I'm not allowed to do a groma, but if I'm gonna lose a shirt is burning. I'm allowed to wet the side of the shirt. So the fire comes down, it will extinguish. That's called the groma. The Gemara says. So here too, that's a big tzorich. A guy cannot walk stuck in the house. It's a huge tzorich. Got it? Okay.
What about on your perspective?
The what?
The Eruv. That's the Eruv, the tzorach. That's
So, no, it really is. I look. I also never was samech on the Erev, and now even though I tell people the Erev is kosher, you want to be samech, but the need for Erev, you don't have a big backyard. Mashal, someone's close to me just bought a house and refused to buy a house with a big backyard. He's a ben Torah, doesn't care. My wife is stuck like this. At least a big backyard Shabbos. and she invites people who do carry, who bring the babies. So no.
Presume that Shabbos elevators in a hospital and a hotel.
That's okay. That's okay.
But I don't know if this is true.
It's a different conversation.
That's nothing to do with that. That's a whole different. That's a whole different conversation.
But what about these malachas on Yom Kippur? You know,
Kippur is like Shabbos.
Yom Kippur is like Shabbos.
Yom Kippur is like Shabbos.
But,
The difference between Yom Kippur and Shabbos is skila, and Yom Kippur is But Yom Kippur, all the laws, whatever Shabbos, is Yom Kippur the same. Yom Tov, the Torah said you're allowed to do food things. You're allowed to shech, you're allowed to cook, you're allowed to roast, you're allowed to chop food, all these things, anything that has to do with food. Menat Torah, remember we learned, you're allowed to go fishing, you're allowed to even take the Rav Paskins like the Rishonim, allowed to take berries off the tree. It's only with the Rabbanim that didn't allow you. The Rabbanim did not allow you, but you're afraid that you're going to come. The Rambam says, otherwise we're going to be, a whole Yom Tov will be picking berries.
So, if somebody's sick, they want to eat up food on Yom Kippur,
That's a Chodesh Yesh B'Skana. The guy, some people text me today, this is, every year she gets worse with allergies. Text me a 9-year-old child, it cannot drink milk, cannot eat this, the only thing the child really eats is an 8-year-old, 9-year-old child is meat, fleischigs. Allergic to milk and allergic to who knows what. Says, of course he's allowed to eat. I mean, that's only a minute ago.
His parents made him sick. She got some.
No, this guy has many children. His only child is not well. He must have about 10 children, at least that I know of. No, it wasn't.
I think it's meat.
No, this child that's not allergic is to meat. No, I have a nephew who's lactose intolerant. He has to take a pill if he eats milk.
The huge percentage of
Jewish people. I have a nephew who can't tolerate.
China, by the way, is lactose intolerant.
The whole
The
what?
whole nation of China,
China's lactose intolerant?
about 97% of the
Whoa.
population is lactose intolerant.
Why is that?
They just are. They're born. It's genetic. Have you ever seen dairy at a Chinese restaurant?
Baruch Hashem, never been kicked out of the restaurant.
Well, in Shanghai.
The first one was the whole nation.
Well, I didn't know that. That's good to know.
Now we know.
Wow.
So just as someone asked about the elevator, on Shabbos, can I tell a guy to press the elevator button?
What, you going to the hospital? Yeah.
But
Why? You're going to ask me why. So this is a huge machlokes. Some hold that you have to know how the elevator works. That's why I once asked an engineer. But if the elevator, often the elevators have electric anyways. All you do is the more electricity comes into the same wires. It's not like then it's only the maximum the bottom. The only question is if it's not. That's a big machlokes that I said the bottom. So you go in the hospital, you could be soymech to tell a guy, since the Ahu hold it to the bottom only. My wife was in the hospital. I never walked up the stairs. I know there was a lady who came and was visiting. My wife, she walked up the stairs. I didn't say a word. My wife was on the 6th floor. This is not see the sign. You ever walked and see the sign? That's not as, I was saying always the Shabbos elevator and finished.
Aren't there elevators that weigh the person? Electronic weights?
Some say that, but you're not doing anything. You go in, and the Shabbos elevator surely is that you don't do nothing. It's just a grumma. Surely it's a grumma. It's a grumma. I mean, you stand there, a few minutes later, it does a...
What's the source there? I understand, it's a grumble.
It's a tzorech.
Source of what?
So my wife needs, you know how hard it is for being in the hospital all day long and no one
So
coming?
the source is that so you don't climb 6 stairs?
Yeah, I wouldn't go have to climb 6 stairs. I'm not my
I'm
age.
trying to understand.
Yeah, it would be very hard.
But just to distinguish between Shabbos and Yom Tov, if I'm in a hospital or if I'm in a hotel on Yom Tov, can I ask the guy, can you press the 12th floor?
That's a big machlokes. That has to be a real tzorech. People do it. They have this Shabbaton. They have these, what is it called? These, the Good convention. What do you think they do? They're Soymich on the guys. The guy standing by everyone. They're Soymich on these scholars. Everyone. So the Soymich, what is the smach? Because they are poskim hold that's only the Rabbanon. Since the electric is going anyway, whatever you do is only the Rabbanon. So on the other Rabbanim, even the Chazanish disagrees, others disagree. That's a whole sugi how it works. But there are soimich on that. So what happened was, I have a good friend. His father has, he's a wealthy guy, and he has an Etzisur on the 18th floor. He has a very expensive apartment. When this psak came out not to use the Shabbos elevator, and Etzisur, his father, he texts him, my property just went down. He said, my father has a good sense of humor, don't worry. Because the rich Jews who live there all are soimich on the Shabbos elevator. You know what I mean?
Right, in the same way as that person who goes into a wheelchair, he has a tzorach that he has to use his house. If a person lives a few miles away from a shul, if you could technically make a car that is kosher,
that's what they were afraid of. They were afraid if this is okay, then we'll make a car. Someone told me once you have this thing.
The Google car.
Yeah, like the Google. Someone explained to me. I'm not a technology, but someone explained to me. Once you have this mechanism, you could have machines working, you could have everything working. And that's Chazal didn't want that. You know, I just.
There's a sensor on the door. If someone's walking by and the door's about to close.
Not all elevators. It's true, but not all elevators. That is true. That is true. Not all elevators. I know in the hospital, the new building has it, but not the old building.
Right, some of them have a piece that actually has to touch the person.
Right. That's the old elevator. The new elevator has like a laser thing. So
Even still, it's not a problem.
that is well. They say it's a problem
You
there.
don't know when it's going to close.
Because it causes for the
It's
door.
not triggered until the elevator's ready.
I think right. It doesn't trigger till the elevator wants to close, right? Yeah. I guess I'm not sure. Yeah.
But so can you use solar panels because solar panels make electricity from the sun?
It doesn't make electricity. It makes heat. It doesn't make electricity. It generates heat.
It generates
Heat.
electricity. After all, it goes out.
It's a heat. Electricity or heat? I thought it works with. Does it work with electricity? Yeah, but it generate no. But in it's so the Dutch is generate.
That's what we know. It's a new technology. New technology.
Oh, generates. But it does it by itself. Then there's nothing wrong. That's not. I'm allowed to have the thing. I'm allowed to catch rain. I'm allowed to catch a sun. I'm not doing anything. You're allowed to set the clock. The light should go on. I'm allowed to set the clock every Shabbos. The sprinkler should go on. And the air conditioner go on. Here the panels is catching the heat and turning to electricity. Whatever you're saying, that's okay. I'm not doing anything.
What if it's hot the heat on Friday, the electricity on Friday, and now it's stored like a water tank? Can I flip on a light switch?
But when you flip it on, you're creating a new circuit. It just becomes again. That's the issue. That's a new circuit you're creating. What do you say? Yeah. Okay.
Can you speak about that new light that they have that works on a drummer? Or works, yeah. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's a new switch, like you switch it on and
It's new advertised.
yeah.
Yeah, my wife showed me this Shabbos. It's just brand new. I have to read it. I have no idea.
How is the same thing?
No, it works.
It's not a sensor, from what
I don't know.
There's a grandma on it. So you
The Rabbanim are very against that because a groma that's clear Shulchan Aruch. A groma the only makel in Shabbos for sure the tzorich. Yom Tov is a big machlekes. Yom Tov the Taz holds and Mishnah. Some hold that the Shulchan Aruch holds, but groma Yom Tov is also. Some hold and learn in the Shulchan Aruch that way. Well, that's the challenge that a Rav has to decide. Because let's say nowadays, tell a person not to shower 9 days, people tell me they go nuts, right? So today it's a new world, right? So certain things, like you tell a guy, certain things becomes a tzorich. Like our life has changed so drastically.
But technically, halachically, we're not supposed to shower these
Well,
9 days.
Sfardim is after Shabbos, Ashkenazim from Rosh Chodesh. Sfardim is only the week of Tisha B'Av. That means Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. But tell people you can't do it. It's impossible. I'm not finicky. So you're allowed to I tell people, take a shower to take the discomfort away. You don't have to stand in the shower half or 20 minutes and have a hot soap and then around.
Is that bending the rule?
No, because it says, even an oval, the Gemara says, someone is sitting shiva, and is also not allowed to bathe, but if he's very finicky, he's very painful, then he's allowed to. So it can't be worse than 9 days than a real oval. So we are very finicky. Who doesn't take a shower every day?
but the thing is, it's giving you the reason that you can shower is being finicky. There's a lot of things we could be finicky about.
No. In the Gemara itself, it talks about an oval is not allowed to take a shower for 7 days. The Mishnah says that Gamaliel took a shower and was sitting Shiva. So Tamida says, Rebbe, says, I'm a finicky person. I just can't tolerate it. So the Chazal, when they instituted new, see, I have a guy who's a Persian guy, comes to Daf Yomi. So he grew up, he's a generation older than you. He tells me when he lived in the thing, once a month they went to the bathhouse. Imagine, everybody say, once a month. Imagine when he grew up in Tehran, once a month he went. You know, the Gemara also says they went once in 2 weeks, once a... A house that doesn't have 3 showers is not a house. It's puzzle. It's a puzzle house. How many showers do you have? You don't want to say? More than 3 showers. Okay, let's move on. Okay. So he says, you're not allowed to make a new fire. We're up to 3 lines from the bottom. She creates something new, making a fire. Looks like a melucha. Since you could have done an erev Yom Tov, usalas Yom Tov. But im over the user mitte l'shtamish be'esh b'Yom Tov. Yom Tov, most of the law, we don't say if you violate it, you can't use it. Even though you violate it, you can still use it. A guy put on the fire, it's okay. It happened once, many years ago, a guy came to shul, he was a newlywed, and he says, my mother-in-law, guess what she did? She put on the fire, I'm not eating today. So I says, well, what happened? She was Yom Tov. So I said, you're allowed to eat. No, calm down. I took out the Mishnah Bruder, I sold him this halacha. If you violate it, you put on the fire, but the evid, it's okay.
That means even if the
Even Uvar, it says even b'mezid. So if you have, people have, some family members don't know, even though, or they do know, they don't care, but they put on the fire, it's, but the evid, it's okay.
I heard he's not allowed to eat from it.
No.
The person is not allowed to eat.
No, that's Shabbos. Not Yom Tov. Shabbos is different than Yom Tov. Shabbos, you're right, there's a whole Gemara. But Yom Tov, Chazal didn't make a knas, he says. Right. But even some Drabanans in Shabbos, we did say you can't do it. A guy took Truma, he cannot eat it. And Truma, taking Truma is only Drabanan. And Yom Tov, because remember I explained 3 weeks ago, Yom Tov, the Chazal wanted you to enjoy Yom Tov, Simchas Yom Tov. Remember I told you Chazal wanted you to shecht and have meat and Simcha ele babasa. We spoke about this. So Chazal didn't want it. He did it already. So the Rabbanim, you're allowed to eat it. You're allowed to enjoy the fire. Shabbos, they made it worse. So Yom Tov, if you did violate it, it's okay. Right? So he says, the Rav says base. In ein osem b'chumim. You know what b'chumim means? Coals. It's to make coals, prepare coals for the fireplace. In osem b'chumim feleroitze la'asikam tachas tavshira b'Yom Tov. You want to prepare coals to put it on the barbecue. You want to have coals for your barbecue. She misakin keli. That's called tikkun keli. She'eruah letzor fezuv. They used to use it for gold. The oid she machabe. Yos extinguishes. In order to make it cold, it has to burn, and then you have to put out the fire. So putting out the fire, we're later going to learn, you're allowed to make a fire, but you're not allowed to extinguish a fire. Do you know that Yom Tov, it should never happen to anyone? There's a fire burning, and you know no one is in danger. No one. You got to let the house burn till ashes.
Yep.
Yes.
It happened when I grew up with the caravan grew and the shul made sad. We went up on fire.
The way did it happen?
The shul made sad. It's in,
Wait, but you can't call the guy to do it and put it out?
You have to scream, fire! That's all. You can't tell the guy to put it out. You'll have to yell on top of your lungs, fire.
So this Siman is talking specifically where well, let's say there's a fire already lit, and I take a piece of wood that I put in the fire. My intention is that I want it to turn into coal. So I already have a lit fire.
Well, you can't do that.
That's
That's what I'm talking about. But because when you make it cold,
fire lit.
yeah, because when you make it cold, you're extinguishing the coal. That's how coals work. You make a fire and you extinguish. You're not extinguishing it.
If there's a fire lit, I use it to cook. I take out a piece of wood, I put it down on my porch, which is made out of stone, and it goes out on its own.
That's okay.
So then I made it cold.
No, well, it makes it cold. I don't think so. It's going to burn.
All wood will eventually, once it burns
Yeah,
down.
it doesn't turn into coal. You have to put it out. Otherwise, it turns into ashes. You smoke a cigarette. How do you... Imtim salami, you smoke. And so how do you do it? You put it out. So the coal you put down the thing and it turns into ashes. That's it. It just turns into ashes.
Why is it not a tzedek to put it out?
But the tzedek will later learn because putting out a fire is not oichal nefesh. See, making a fire is oichal nefesh. Putting out a fire usually is not to burn something. It's not, the main extinguisher of fire is never, it could happen that the fire is too high and you're afraid it's going to burn. But later get to it. Why the...
Simchas Yom Tov is also another concept. But Simchas Yom Tov is going to be really ruined if you don't.
Yeah, that's true, but still Chazal said you're not allowed to do it. That's one of the most difficult things in Yom Tov. The marshal, give a better marshal. Are you allowed to extinguish a light because you want to be with your wife? To be with your wife is a mitzvah Yom Tov. And you're not allowed to be with your wife if the light is on. So you want to turn off the light. It's kibi. They want to blow out the candle.
That's allowed.
So you're not allowed to.
Oh, you're not allowed.
It's allowed to, what?
If the house is on fire, and you want to be with your wife that night, you put out the whole fire.
No, but Pasky, you can't. You're not allowed to.
On Yom Tov,
You can't do that.
is that the Raisa or the Rabbanan?
But the most place come out to put on the fire is the Rabbanan.
No, I mean to put out a fire
Is that the Rabbanan?
on Yom Tov.
Yeah,
On Shabbos, that's the Raisa.
that's the right, correct.
What about if there's animals in the house? And it's on fire.
Let it roast.
Really? What is Sarah fire?
Tzabah Chaim doesn't allow you to violate the Isser. You got to try with it. You have to save an animal. If an animal's in pain for no reason, of course. See, Tzabah, I want to explain this. Everyone asks me. The reason we're so preoccupied with Tzabah Chaim today is because we have cars. You think the donkey and the horses enjoyed what they were doing? You have a schmooze with the donkey, you know. You think he does what he wanted?
Dylan's donkey good.
He did complain that he got patch. See, the Chazal said, if there's no reason, no purpose, you shouldn't have to. I have a neighbor, and I always tease him. Do you think your dog likes? He's very much into Tzabah L'chaim. Do you think your dog likes when you walk with a leash? Do you think, maybe you have a schmooze with him? Maybe he says, oh, I'm a leash. I would be annoyed if someone has a leash to me, I told him. He's very busy with animal rights. I don't know. I'm just saying we are korah, but Tzabah L'chaim is a drais. So we pass him. And Tzabah L'chaim means you see if an animal suffering on its own, you have to save it. Not only you, someone doing it. But there is a need. You're allowed to shecht an animal to eat. You're allowed to have shoes made, and the Torah allows it to us.
And you can use them for experiments.
Yes.
Medical research.
Right, I had a guy ask me that on 3rd Street, he was working for, he's a computer software, but in that building, they have a thing to spray into dogs' eyes. There was a demonstration there, and it says, you're allowed to if there's a tzedek.
My daughter went with her camp to the circus. She came home complaining, Sarah Balachai.
How old is your daughter?
Is that the 11? Is that Sarah? I mean, they kept whipping, right? They whipped the lines every single time. They're snapping the whip at the line for the elephants. It's in order to make absolutely
The whole country of them was Sarah L'chaim.
So it's
Worse than that, the training that they have to go through to do those things, they do much worse to them than the whipping.
in order to maintain that control.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how to. I mean, I tried to answer, but I didn't know how to.
I never thought about it. I mean,
There's
I always thought, I used to think about the elephants in the zoo. You think they enjoy having such a small place? I mean, but
that's another good question. So
yeah, but the mice, that's been done for thousands of years. We see
so
that.
is that not allowed?
There's a need for parnasa, people are making a living off it.
But he's saying no. But they're not allowed to make circus. Yeah, it's making a living.
Yeah, but you're not. Wouldn't
You're allowed to if you're
You're not
making a
allowed-
living. If you're making a living, and it's a
you're
good
allowed
question.
to abuse animals if you're making
No,
a living?
no.
Use.
No, it's
There's a difference.
How do you know it's abuse? I don't know it's
That's what
abuse.
we're asking.
If let me tell you something. If you ride it on top of an elephant or a horse, you think the horse enjoys it?
They take electrical shock.
Yeah, but does the horse enjoy running, galloping? You think he enjoys it?
You're kicking him and he's running for you?
I don't know. They think
What is that considered? Is that considered?
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. It was made for that. I mean, but
Using a horse for
they used to use elephants for army. They used to go to the wars. The Chashmanuim, you know the famous Chashmanuim when they came and they turned on. You know they went to war with elephants. It's an old thing.
So the circus example though is
Hannibal brought elephants from Spain to Italy, right through the Alps. I mean,
the circus example is completely different because with the horses you have a carriage, it's transportation, the circus example, it's
living.
It's the living for the circus people, but it's derived from a vanity, from pleasure for us to sit down and watch
it's a good question.
An elephant go like this.
Because the question is a bullfight. You're allowed to have a bullfight?
Great, that's another good example. Is that allowed?
No.
Because
It's suffering of an animal.
Somebody's making money, there's betting going on.
Right. A lot of people making money. I was
Bullfighter, that's what a bullfighter makes a living, you could say.
Yeah, I have to think about it. It's a good question. Tell your daughter she asked a good question.
I told her that I think that animals don't suffer pain the same way humans do.
How do you know that?
We don't. That's the point.
That's why I asked my neighbor that question. How do you know the dog likes a leash to have around them?
But I don't think they have the same cognitive.
Of course not. Of course not.
Well, then what's Tauber?
So then what's Sabah L'chaim?
Right. So I don't know the answer.
So it's sad is when we see we're not allowed to cause an animal pain unless we have a tzorech. Now we have to decide, if, like you just said,
When we say we're not allowed to cause animal pain, is it saying we cannot utilize an animal?
we're allowed to. We have a tzorech. So the question is having
Nobody
fun.
should be allowed to own the dog. I mean, there's no purpose unless you're using it for guard.
Right. But I don't know if he has pain. That's the question. Does a dog in a leash have a pain?
I think no. That's the point.
Okay. I don't know.
You show them the leash to take.
Because they got used to
They
it.
go nuts, they love it.
Because it's their trained.
They're
Because
trained.
They hate children in your house so much that they would rather
They
go
want
to
them to
escape. No, that's not true. No, they want it. They
No,
want
but
to get out of the house.
No, but what?
But I'm trying to find the line. So I said, for example, many of these animals in the circus, they probably are better off than they would be in the wild, where they wouldn't have the same.
That's what they said when you brought
No,
the
I'm
blacks
just
to stay to
theorizing.
welfare slaves.
I'm theorizing.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Their mortality rate is greater.
But that's the
That doesn't
answer.
matter.
When we got the slaves, we said all that logic. The mortality rate is better, the spark is here, the happier.
But the truth is, I have to look, because the Moshel, it says you're not allowed to cause pain for fun. That says clearly. How's it called? Cockfights when the birds fight?
All of those things.
And that says clearly, Sabah L'chaim.
I mean, those are clear situations. I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, but they're making money. There are people betting on it.
No, making money's not a hatter. Fight.
So that's what I'm saying. That's not a hatter. So the circus is making money. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know. I have to think about it. I never thought
Who
about
says
it.
everything is through pain because they said so? Maybe he's saying that the elephants are not in pain. They like it. They enjoy it.
But they like to have whipped.
No,
They're
no,
not
not getting whipped. Elephants don't get whipped.
No, but in the
If
circus-
you look at what's happening to these elephants, to these lions behind the scenes,
No, I'm saying he's saying he knows elephants.
Elephants.
No,
In
he's
a
not.
circus,
He's
no.
very diverse knowledge.
Asian elephants.
You're a Chinese elephant.
They love people. They won't step on
They were just saying what they do here in the US.
I mean, I know-
Here in the US is different.
Okay.
No, no,
Okay.
just a rock on our base. What's the problem with the coal? What is-
You're making a keli.
You're making what?
A keli, making a coal, which you're going to use later to use for gold. They used to make coals. Well, nowadays you want to make a coal because you use it for barbecue, emotional. So that's creating a keli.
That didn't exist before, we did it?
Right, that's a keli. You're going to use this for later. And what? And the second thing is because you're extinguishing a fire.
So what's the head of the economy?
And what?
How are you extinguishing? How-
Because when you make coals, I don't know how to do it. When they make coals, they let it burn and then you extinguish it, and that's what becomes coals.
Not the coals we use.
Not the coals that you use.
Make coals by extinguishing fire.
Not the coals that you buy in the store. Do you take a big log? How do you think that the coals in your store became coals? They take a log.
Why we should get the log? We get some of us. We get the real coals.
Yeah, I'm just saying we don't.
So back to the fire in the house.
Yeah.
If we see a house burning, we can't.
You're allowed to scream fire, the goy should come and extinguish it.
We don't know if someone's in there.
Then you're allowed to. Oh, that's of course. That's not no even Shabbos. Yeah, even Shabbos. Someone a few years ago, someone panicked and extinguished a fire in my neighborhood. And he was shaking. I said, of course. You have 3 neighbors. You know, fire goes 1, 2, 3. You always say people didn't have a chance to get out. I mean, we're talking about clearly. You have a house. No one's in danger. You know, and the din is if no one is in danger. You know, clearly.
What if there's a guy in the house?
Yeah, but you're not on Mechal Shabbos for going either. You know, it's Shabbos too. You're not on Mechal. But the question is, but again, we'll later learn. But if it's going to suit, is going to burn, you're allowed to stop the fire. That's going to be very interesting. We're going to later.
But what's going to?
Let's see, whole meal is going to burn. So one opinion holds you're allowed to extinguish the fire because that extinguishing the fire is saving the meal for Yom Tov. We're going to see that. Well, it's a whole sugya later. Okay. You know how's bellowing it's called?
Yes.
So they, you know, we don't have this anymore. So they used to bellow the fire, you know.
That issue applies to smoking. If you exhale on your cigarette, you're causing the flame to flame up.
Correct.
When you exhale or
If
inhale?
you exhale on your cigarette, you blow out.
Oh, if you blow out in the cigarette. Oh.
No, I'm saying if you're trying, let's say you lit a little bit, and you only have a little bit lit, and you're trying to get it more lit.
But that's okay on the cigarette. You're not. It's
Same
not
concept.
yeah, but it's over here. The reason it's also that's a keli miyuchad, and but you're allowed to do it with the shini. You're allowed to use a bellowing with the shini. But for the record, I hate to say, but for the record, I said already once that you're not allowed to smoke Yom Tov nowadays anymore. Not allowed to smoke Yom Tov anymore.
Wait, I thought was it?
The reason you can't smoke anymore Yom Tov, the reason I explained, because it has to, it's not shova l'chol nefesh. It means like this. It has to be, it has to be something that most people or large amount of people enjoy.
Right.
In my shul, I don't know, my shul, there's only one person, no, even he stopped. No, one person smokes.
Israel, you could.
In Israel, you could. Everyone smokes. And wherever you go to Israel, everyone smokes.
You're allowed to smoke on Yom Tov, and you're allowed to start the fire to. Have
Not to start, no, from another fire.
From another fire.
But here, how many members you have in the shul? Now, how many people smoke? That's it. So I hate to discriminate against the smokers. Yeah, but really, it's a deraisa. Many people don't realize that. You know, you tell the people, they're shocked because it has to be shova l'chol nefesh, and that's not shova l'chol nefesh.
So they'll call message for the community or for the street?
No, for the public. That's a big machlekes that we consider the goyim and the Eden. But the bottom line is, 30 years ago, lots of speakers smoked. Even 20 years ago, it's less and less people smoke.
In certain areas, let's say in Brooklyn, for example, in the Muslim community, there's people that a lot of them smoke, a lot.
But I don't know how much. But most people in Brooklyn don't smoke. It's still a minority. It's still today. In Eretz Yisrael, I was in Eretz Yisrael 4 years ago. I just couldn't believe how many people smoke. And not just they smoke, they blow it into your face. Like I forgot those days when I was young people. There's a famous tshuva of Moshe, and there's a guy in my community who got this tshuva written. He was a bacha, and there was a guy sitting in Besmedish, and we smoke. He said, "Stop smoking. I like you smoke. So I'm allowed to do what I want." So next day he came with hairspray. So every time he smoked, he sprayed into his face. If you're allowed to blow smoke, I'm allowed to spray. And no one was able to disagree with him. I mean, there was a whole time, it's different. Why is it different exactly? May I know exactly what's different? So they went and asked the Moshe. And that's when the Moshe said, he's right. If it annoys him, you're not allowed to smoke. So that's the first time came a tikkun that no one is allowed to smoke in the Beis Medrash. That was about 35 years ago. Remember they stopped smoking in Beis Medrash.
What is?
Yeah.
What did Moshe say about smoking before? I'm not forgetting.
It's very hard to say. It's also Shem B'Soim Hashem, Kimi the Dusha Barab, it's called Shem B'Soim Hashem. That means since so many people do it, and so Hashem protects the fools.
Hashem protects.
The marshal, you're not allowed to talk while you're eating. Do you know that? Most people don't know the Halacha. You're not allowed to talk when you're eating. Why? You might choke. So how can we do talk? So Gemara says, Shoyme b'soyim Hashem. Hashem watch the foolish people. We're fools.
Is that chewing the food or the whole meal?
The whole meal.
So it's basically like, it's not a good
Imagine
thing to do,
the meal, no one talking. Pessy's a fool. Shoyme b'soyim Hashem. Pessy's a fool. Shoyme b'soyim Hashem. So Gemara. So Moshe says that so many people smoke. He says Shoyme b'soyim Hashem. But he doesn't disagree. It's not dangerous. They asked Moshe this.
He would tshuva about it being dangerous or not dangerous in the 70s, and then now people say that they know that it could that it's dangerous that people smoke. They have proof that it's dangerous. Therefore, halachically, it's not okay.
They knew in the 70s it was dangerous.
During when Moshe wrote that tshuva, did immediately
I remember Lakewood, they stopped smoking. Like it was short stop. I was married, and she went to the doctor, and the doctor asked her, she wasn't feeling it. Do you smoke? They said, no, I don't smoke. My husband comes from a place full of smoke. She was allergic, and he says that usually comes from smoke. She wasn't smoking. But I remember when the Moshe gave the psak, it was like a mamish, a short stop. And it was terrible. The smokers would go out, and then many people stopped smoking because it was such a bittul Torah. You have to go out, light a cigarette, and and you look like the loser. You go out, you got to smoke a cigarette. That itself, people lost the cheshik for smoking.
So that thing you said that if many people are doing it, becomes okay. That's correct.
It doesn't. No, it does. Let me explain this. I was going to explain. Moshe says that you can't say it's usher, but you shouldn't do it. He says. That you shouldn't talk while you're eating. But if you do it, you can't say you're violating the law. You shouldn't smoke. Your person has to, he says a person has to take up, all Gemaras and Shas is busy being healthy. Eat this food, don't eat at night. When you're intimate, make sure you're intimate in this time. The Gemaras all over Shas talks about health. So a person, the Chazal clearly say you must live a healthy life. A person can say, I'm going to eat meat every day, high cholesterol, and someone told me there's a restaurant called Heart Attack Restaurant. You heard about this? That's someone told me. In Vegas, it's called the Heart Attack Restaurant. You heard about this? Someone told me this. So let's say such a thing. A person eats meat like a very high cholesterol. He can't say he's violating the thing. A lot of people do it, but you're a fool for doing it.
It's clear that cigarettes kill people.
Right? So we can't say it's usher but it's surely you shouldn't be doing it. The Chazal wanted you. The Rambam wrote in Hilchas the Yad Chazuk, he wrote 2 prokim how to be healthy. Hilchas Days, wrote. So it's not the Rambam shitta. All over Shas, the Gemara discusses how to live a healthy life.
That's different. The Rambam's diet.
Yeah, but the concept. You're right. I'm not talking about the diet. The Rambam works. So the concept is the Chazal said you should live a healthy life. Don't not eat meat. Whatever is healthy.
How do we get away with that?
There's no way to get away with it.
We are getting away with it.
You should be doing it. It's not. You can't say Al ate too much meat. I don't have to do that. But a person is obligated to make sure he lives a healthy life. I have to exercise. Doctor told me, and if I don't, I am not doing the right thing.
But why is it not clearly against Halacha to smoke a cigarette?
Because one cigarette doesn't kill anyone.
The cigarette doesn't kill. It's like in the long run, it will kill you. It doesn't. A guy eats meat, a lot of high cholesterol. It's not going to kill him today, but he'll die eventually young. What?
Why can't you say a chain
He
smoker?
smokes one at a time.
Each individual one is
Each one individual doesn't kill him.
He's a chain smoker.
Doesn't kill him each one.
20 a day.
Yeah, there's.
Being dangerous as a killer, and when you're going to go this way, come on.
Wait, on Shabbos you like to take one step, right?
Step what?
Outside when you're carrying. On Shabbos I can go like this.
In outside. You can walk daladamas, less than
Why
that.
can't I just keep doing that?
Well, because if you go daladamas, then you violate it. That's the halacha.
Every step is a new step.
If you stop, Minat Torah, you're right. If you stop, you're not. But the Rabbanan didn't allow you.
You say one cigarette at a time. It's not going to kill you.
No.
One step at a time.
No, that's different. Chazal were afraid if you're going to do that, you come carry daladamas, you violate the raisa. It's a whole different thing. You're allowed to, if you pick up an object, you're allowed to move it less than daladamas. If I'm going to move it, put it down again, you might just next time be frustrated and move it more than daladamas. That's what the Chazal said. But this is it's clear in the Gemara, you have to live a healthy life. Yeah, that's all over Shas. But you can't say when a guy is not careful with his cholesterol. You can't say a guy is not careful with, doesn't exercise. He's doing a violating, he should. There's a, in Halacha there's a should and there's a issa. All right, Rabbi Sai.